So here's the scoop. What was supposed to be a sweet birthday celebration for little Lilibet Windsor at Disneyland has officially spiraled into one of the biggest PR misfires Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have faced yet. What started as a seemingly wholesome family outing in the California sun turned into a full-blown headline grab that backfired harder than anyone expected. Imagine this, the world's most public theme park, packed with tourists, cameras, and chaos. And right there, walking straight into the buzz, are Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet. For two people who've made privacy their rallying cry. This move raised every eyebrow from LA to London. It's not just that they were seen, it's that they made sure they were seen. No private entrances, no sneaky disguises, just front and center visibility like they were rolling out a red carpet at the castle gates. Within hours, images from that day were everywhere. Major media outlets were running it like it was breaking news. Blurry shots, wide smiles, kids in tow. Yet here's the twist, the kids' faces were blurred. And while that might seem like a normal safety measure, the contrast between staging a super public appearance and then blurring the children's faces was too jarring to ignore. Suddenly, what looked like a sweet family moment began to feel like another choreographed rollout. Only this time, it didn't land so well. My name is Lola. The internet didn't hold back either. The moment the photos dropped, social media lit up. Platforms like X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit were on fire. Critics and fans alike questioned the move. If privacy is truly the goal, why choose Disneyland, a location crawling with paparazzi and onlookers? It's not just a coincidence when every camera in the park just happens to catch you at the perfect angle. And let's talk about the optics. Piers Morgan, never one to bite his tongue, jumped in without naming names, but everyone knew exactly who he meant. He slammed celebrities who showcase their kids for social clout and then blur their faces like state secrets. The irony hit hard, and Morgan's "We see you" tweet became the rallying cry for skeptics. It felt like the curtain had finally been pulled back on the Sussexes' PR playbook. That one post cracked open the illusion, and it didn't stop there. Media analysts began dissecting the timing, the visuals, and the implications. Why now? Why here? Was it a coincidence that the photos landed just days before the Trooping the Color ceremony, a key royal event celebrating King Charles? Suddenly, what seemed like a birthday trip was looking more like a calculated distraction. Meghan and Harry knew exactly what they were doing, and for the first time, even some of their defenders started to side-eye the whole thing. Insiders from Disneyland reportedly added fuel to the fire. According to staffers who spoke off the record, the couple's presence was anything but low-key. Their security team was visible, large, and oddly coordinated for what was supposed to be a casual family trip. Photographers seemed to know exactly where to be and when to click, capturing shots that looked like they belonged on a glossy magazine cover, not a parent's iPhone reel. It wasn't just the public that raised eyebrows. Even members of the royal circle began whispering. Reports suggest that King Charles was blindsided and furious. The use of the name Lilibet, Queen Elizabeth's personal nickname, for such a staged moment rubbed many the wrong way. Buckingham Palace had previously stated that Meghan and Harry never asked permission to use the name. Yet here it was again being leveraged in what looked like a publicity stunt. For a family built on tradition and protocol, this crossed the line. Meanwhile, Meghan's brand, American Riviera Orchard, had just launched and wasn't making the splash she expected. Her podcast, once hyped as the next big thing, had fizzled. So what better way to grab attention than a photogenic Disney stroll with royal kids in tow? But this time, the magic didn't land. Instead of sparking admiration, it triggered backlash. And once again, the timing looked all too convenient. This wasn't just a bad look, it was a narrative unraveling in real time. Now here's where things get really spicy. Just when you thought it couldn't get any messier, Prince William reportedly stepped in behind the scenes, and he wasn't thrilled. Sources close to the palace say he's been quietly fuming over the continued antics of his younger brother and sister-in-law. What was once seen as a rebellious streak is now being viewed as full-on provocation. William's had enough. From the Netflix docuseries to the Oprah interview, every move Harry and Meghan make seems designed to poke the royal bear. But this latest Disneyland stunt hit different. It wasn't just a dig at the crown. It was a calculated move to steal thunder just before a major royal event. And for William, who's been playing the long game to protect the institution's reputation, this felt like betrayal on a whole new level. There's also talk that senior royals are seriously discussing whether it's time to strip Harry and Meghan of their remaining titles. That's no longer just tabloid gossip. It's becoming a real option on the table. The monarchy can't afford to have its brand diluted by what's increasingly being seen as a celebrity sideshow. And William, who once hoped for reconciliation, is now reportedly pushing for a firm response. As one royal insider put it, they've crossed too many lines and the family's done cleaning up their mess. And just when the drama couldn't get any thicker, let's talk about Piers Morgan again, because he didn't stop at one tweet. Nope, he's made it his mission to expose what he calls the Sussex contradiction. From TV rants to editorial columns, he's been laying out all the receipts. Remember when Meghan claimed she wanted out of the spotlight to protect her kids? Yet here they are, showing up at one of the most visible spots on Earth, surrounded by press. It's hard to argue that's accidental. Morgan isn't the only one raising questions. Even former allies of the couple are beginning to jump ship. Public opinion polls in the UK and US show waning support. People are tired of the constant contradictions. One minute it's leave us alone, and the next it's a curated photo drop that looks like it came straight from a brand campaign. Meghan's podcast, once meant to empower women and shift culture, has quietly slipped off the radar. The brand intended to be her next big legacy play is flopping harder than expected. Analysts believe the Disneyland stunt was an emergency PR move to regain public favor. But if that was the goal, it definitely missed the mark. Instead of boosting her image, it made people question her authenticity even more. And in today's world, nothing tanks a reputation faster than the smell of fake. But the hits just kept coming. As the dust settled from the Disneyland backlash, whispers started circulating that the Sussexes were threatening legal action again. This time, the target was none other than, you guessed it, Piers Morgan. According to UK media insiders, Meghan and Harry were exploring ways to push back against his criticism, labeling it as defamatory and invasive. Of course, this isn't their first legal tango. Meghan's lawsuit against the Daily Mail, Harry's crusade against tabloids, it's become part of their public persona, fighting the press while simultaneously feeding the press. And that's what makes it all so dizzying. They want to be protected from the media's reach, yet they orchestrate moments tailor-made for front-page coverage. Meanwhile, Morgan's not backing down. In fact, he's doubling down. He's challenging them to prove their intentions. You can't cry privacy and then choreograph press, he wrote. And for once, a lot of people agreed. His commentary is gaining steam, not because he's always right, but because the contradiction is becoming too glaring to ignore. In the middle of all this media warfare, one thing remains clear. Harry and Meghan have become lightning rods. Every move, every photo, every whisper becomes a debate. And as they keep mixing personal narratives with public spectacle, even their staunchest defenders are running out of ways to justify the chaos. The question isn't whether the public's watching, it's whether they're still buying it. And while the media frenzy played out across headlines and social feeds, something shifted inside the palace. Prince William, long known for his measured tone and strategic restraint, reportedly snapped. Behind closed doors, sources say he's no longer interested in diplomacy when it comes to Harry and Meghan. The line's been crossed, and there's no going back. For William, this isn't just about bad press, it's about protecting the integrity of the institution. The monarchy has always been about continuity, service, and discretion. And right now, Meghan and Harry's every move seems like a direct challenge to that. Between the tell-all documentaries, blockbuster interviews, and now, photo ops at Disneyland, William sees a pattern, one that's hurting the crown with every headline. Royal insiders say serious discussions are underway. Legal advisors have reportedly been consulted about what it would take to formally remove Harry and Meghan's remaining titles. It's not just a symbolic move. It's about drawing a boundary. If they're going to continue operating like celebrity influencers, then they can't keep using royal status as a safety net. Even other senior royals, who were once hesitant to escalate matters, are said to be leaning toward action. The tolerance has run dry. This isn't just family drama, it's a reputational crisis. And for a monarchy still trying to modernize and survive in the 21st century, cleaning house might be the only way forward. And here's where the irony hits hardest. The very thing Harry and Meghan were trying to escape, the manufactured spotlight of royal life, has now become the core of their brand. Except now, they control the lighting, the angles, and the narrative. Or at least they used to. Because lately it's all slipping. Let's face it, the public is catching on. The Netflix deal made waves, sure. But once the docuseries dropped, interest started to dip. The Spotify fallout didn't help either. Archetypes, the podcast that was supposed to reshape how we think about women's voices, barely made a dent in the cultural conversation. And now, with Meghan's new brand struggling to gain traction, the audience is starting to tune out. The playbook feels worn out. Launch a brand, drop some drama, stage a photo op, rinse and repeat. And people are exhausted. Even longtime supporters are finding it hard to keep defending them. You can't build a sustainable public image on smoke and mirrors, and this time, the smoke isn't fooling anyone. What was once seen as brave and bold now feels scripted and calculated. The emotional appeal is fading, and what's left is a couple still chasing the spotlight they claim to hate. The question on everyone's mind now isn't what will they do next, but do we even care anymore? Because even controversy has a shelf life, and this one's starting to expire. Behind palace walls, the conversation has gotten more serious and more personal. The use of the name Lilibet still stings for many within the royal circle. It wasn't just a nickname, it was a cherished, private name used by Queen Elizabeth's closest loved ones. So when Meghan and Harry chose to attach it to a public figure campaign, many saw it as crossing a line. King Charles, sources say, was particularly wounded. Not only did he feel blindsided by the name's use, but he also saw it as a manipulation of legacy. The monarchy isn't just a family, it's a brand built on generations of symbolism. Using Lilibet as clickbait for a stage theme park outing felt like cheapening that legacy. Now, there's even murmurs about legal boundaries regarding the use of royal titles for the Sussex children. Not to punish the kids, but to protect the institution. If the royal image continues to be commodified for attention, the crown may feel obligated to formally pull back whatever ties remain. It's a delicate balance between heritage and modernity, but the palace may be reaching its limit. The message behind these whispers is clear. You can't monetize royalty while claiming to reject it. If Meghan and Harry want to be independent voices, that's their right. But they can't have it both ways, not anymore. The patience that once defined royal diplomacy is quickly running out. So where does that leave Harry and Meghan now? In a word, isolated. What was once a global movement of support and admiration has gradually cooled into confusion and skepticism. Their narrative, once compelling and emotional, has begun to feel like a rerun. And while they may still command headlines, they've lost the benefit of the doubt. It's not that people don't believe they've been through difficult times. It's that the way they've chosen to tell and retell their story has made it hard for audiences to stay emotionally invested. Every new controversy feels like an echo of the last. And in the age of social media, where attention spans are short and authenticity is everything, that's a dangerous trap. Their most recent Disneyland outing was supposed to be a lighthearted family celebration, but instead it reopened wounds, reignited criticism, and revealed just how fragile their public image really is. Even when they try to keep things positive, the backlash is almost immediate. That's not just bad luck, it's a branding crisis. In the end, the story of Harry and Meghan may not be about love, struggle, or even betrayal. It might just be about strategy gone stale. When the magic wears off and the audience stops clapping, what's left? That's the question they'll need to answer. Privately, publicly, and maybe even royally. As the dust settles from yet another media storm, the bigger question becomes, what's next for the Sussexes? Their every move seems to oscillate between calculated and chaotic, and that unpredictability has become part of their brand, for better or worse. But there's only so long that kind of energy can sustain public interest before fatigue sets in. Insiders close to Meghan have whispered that she's exploring new opportunities far from the royal drama. Think Hollywood reinvention, TV production deals, fashion collabs, maybe even another book. But the audience is wary now. The trust that once underpinned her relatability has taken some major hits. People aren't sure whether they're watching a redemption arc or just a drawn-out publicity tour. And what about Harry? He's reportedly more torn than ever. Some sources claim he's considering a full retreat from public life to focus on his children and mental health. Others suggest he's feeling pressure to reclaim his image before it's too late. If he pulls back now, it may look like an admission of defeat. But if he keeps pushing forward with their current strategy, he risks further alienating both sides of the Atlantic. Then there's the looming threat of a total royal separation. If William and Charles decide to go nuclear and strip the Sussexes of their remaining titles, it would be unprecedented in modern royal history. Not only would it cement the split, but it would also send a very clear message. Playtime is over. All eyes are now on the next move. Because love them or hate them, one thing's for sure. Harry and Meghan always give the world something to talk about. The biggest wild card in all of this might be the American public. For years, Harry and Meghan have banked on the idea that the US would be their safe haven, a place where they could reinvent themselves, tell their story, and find freedom outside the crown. And for a while, it worked. Their initial interviews were met with sympathy. Their documentaries drew massive ratings, and they became darlings of certain media outlets. But now, that honeymoon is clearly over. Audiences have grown more skeptical. Even liberal-leaning commentators who once praised their bravery are starting to ask hard questions. What exactly are Harry and Meghan fighting for? If privacy was the goal, why so many public spectacles? If healing was the mission, why keep reopening old wounds? More importantly, what's the end game? Are they building something lasting, or just playing defense with every headline? For many, the endless cycle of blame, media appearances, and rebranding efforts is starting to wear thin. There's only so many times you can cry foul before people stop listening. And yet, their core fan base remains loyal. These are the folks who believe Meghan was wronged, who see her as a survivor of a deeply rigid institution. They defend her every move and view critics as bitter remnants of a bygone era. But even that group is starting to fracture. The Disneyland episode, the timing around royal events, the strategic photo ops, each one chips away at the idea that this is all just organic and authentic. What's emerging instead is a picture of a couple struggling to control a narrative that is spun way beyond their grasp. And in a media landscape that moves faster than ever, the risk isn't just backlash, it's irrelevance. Because for all their fame, Harry and Meghan now face the same challenge as any influencer, celebrity, or public figure: staying interesting without becoming a caricature. And that's a tough tightrope to walk, especially when you burn so many bridges behind you. In the end, maybe that's the real story. Not about who's right or wrong, royal or rebel, but about what happens when you try to outmaneuver a legacy while building one of your own. It's messy, it's bold, and it's playing out in real time on the world stage. Whatever comes next, one thing is certain: it won't be boring. So where does this leave the legacy of Harry and Meghan? In flux. They're no longer just royals or just celebrities. They're somewhere in between, trying to write their own rules. But the more they push back against the system, the more they seem to be pulled into the same spotlight they claim to detest. Public trust is a fickle thing. Once it slips, it's hard to win back. And while the Sussexes still have the platform, the power that comes with it is slowly slipping through their fingers. Their next chapter better be good, because the world is watching.